There you go, guys. There's a classic theme. And welcome to Poetically Christian, guys, and welcome to another edition of Should Christians Play, the series where we go between the ratings of the ESRB to answer the questions: should a Christian play? And is this game physically accessible for me? Hi, guys. My name is Derek. I am a legally blind gamer and preacher, and today we're reviewing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for your Xbox Series X and S consoles and your PC. You guys know how we do. If you've been watching me for a while, we review these games on two fronts. First, is the game physically accessible for someone that's low vision or blind, deaf and hard of hearing, or the motor disabled to play? And of course, we look at things from a Christian moral standpoint. Is the game morally accessible for us as Christians to play? If you guys like this kind of thing, I do these reviews on Thursdays. We call it Should Christians Play. You can check those out. I got an entire playlist on the YouTube channel, Poetically Christian. We also do sermons, as I'm a preacher, on Wednesdays to strengthen our faith, our growth in the Lord and His Word. On Fridays, we do a Let's Play for Faith and Fun, where we play a variety of different games from retro to modern. And I am a fighting game aficionado, so I like those. And of course, on Saturdays, we started the new series that we are able to do once in a while called Disciples Above Disability. And that's where a friend of mine, an autistic gamer, and I talk about how we see God in all things through our Christian worldview, from pop culture to movies to video games, comic books, and so much more. If any of that sounds like something you would enjoy, guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel on Poetically Christian, as it's absolutely free, and you can hit that little bell icon, and that'll give you a notification the next time we make a video. And of course, liking and sharing always helps us further the kingdom and get godly content out into the world, guys. Can't do it without you. And if you watch it on Twitch, you can hit that follow button on Poetically Christian Gamer, and you can join us when we are live. All right, with all that out of the way and all that being said, Indiana Jones. How does this game stack up, guys? All right, well, first of all, let's look at things from the physical standpoint, and let's start with the low vision and blind, as that is the spectrum I come at things from. All right, well, for a game from 2024, this is kind of a mixed bag when it comes to physical accessibility, and I'm going to show you guys how. All right, for the low vision and blind, we have some things to help us out. Unfortunately, if you are completely blind, there is no menu narration on this game whatsoever. It's hard to believe, but we still are here. In late 2024, we have a game that has absolutely no menu narration, not outside of game or in game. So I know that's a lot of times a feature that we as low vision or blind look for, but it doesn't exist in this game. However, what does exist is large text, as you saw probably, or had someone tell you when I was sitting out on the menu. We have large text. It has dark background with light writing. Actually, we can go back out to that. As you can see here, it's very easy to read. It's very, very large text, and the background is dark, so it makes a very nice contrast. Easy to read menus out here on the main menu, and not that many options that you have to go through. Once we are in our options, there are a few things to help you out. Again, if you are low vision, we have HUD visibility is one of the settings that we have, and it's got quite an interesting set of stuff in here. When you go, you can set your HUD size of all your things that you see on screen to large, which I thought that was kind of cool. So it's easier to see. You can set the colors of things if certain colors are easier for you to read than others. I thought that was cool. If you go over, that's tabbing over one. If you go into your options, you hit the left bumper or right bumper to cycle through things on your Xbox controller. If you left tab 1, you get HUD visibility where you can adjust those options. But the more interesting one, and the one that's going to help more than anything if you're low vision or even cognitive abilities, disabilities, is going to be tabbing over twice. So, well, actually it'd be 3 times. 1 goes to your HUD visibility, and 3, goes to your graphics settings. Now, in the graphics settings, there is one of the coolest features I have seen on a game. If you go up 1, 2, on your D-pad, you're going to get to what is called high contrast mode. And you have 3 settings. When it's turned off, that is basically the default setting of what the game looks like just by default. Your second option over is what they call tint, and your third option over is what they call outlines. Now, on the outlines setting, it basically puts a hue or a halo around all the things that are interactive in the environment when you're playing. So like the NPCs that you can talk to or interact with, the environmental objects that you need to grab or need to interact with, they're all going to have like an outline or a hue around them. Very, very helpful if you are visually impaired. Even more helpful is when you go back to the tint feature, and that is where everything in the environment is darkened, and it puts a yellow, or you can choose the color, I chose like a yellowish color, outline around all those environmental things and around the NPCs. Well, I call it the predator mode. It kind of looks like the predator. Boy, that really helps if you are low vision or even cognitive abilities, because as you're going along, you can see who you need to talk to, and you can see the things you need to interact with and the puzzle elements that you need to do. And boy, there's going to be a lot of puzzle elements in this game. If you're not a puzzle fan or a puzzle heavy person, this game is not for you. All right, we're going to leave it on outlines, and I'm going to show you guys in the gameplay both outlines and tint, so you can kind of get a feel for how they work when I do my gameplay section of the review. And of course you have the strength. You know, how much strength do you want to this high contrast mode? I have it at 100% full effect, guys. Yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag for the low vision and blind. Unfortunately, in a game from 2024, we don't have menu narration, but we do have large text, and we do have high contrast mode, and you know, things like that. You can turn the HUD elements to being large. So, yeah, I would have to give the game a C for the low vision and blind. There's just some here to help, but not as much as there should be. So I think a C is a fair grade. When it comes to the deaf and hard of hearing, there is everything here that you could possibly want for you to be able to play the game. In your volume controls, you have full subtitles, so everything in the game is fully subtitles. Even the sound effects in the game are fully subtitles, as you have full captions in this game. You have the ability to turn on the speaker name, so you'll know who's speaking at any given time. You can even color code the speaker on who's speaking to be able to color code and differentiate one speaker from the next. So as far as the deaf and hard of hearing, this game gets an A for me. It has everything that you would want and be able to play this game and not miss anything. And from the motor disabled, you also have several control options in this game. You can fully button remap in the game to your heart's content, every single button. You have the ability to turn on toggles or hold, so if it's hard for you to hold down a button, you can switch those to be where you just tap them or press them instead of toggling them. You can have it set to where things like sprint are turned on, toggled on, and you don't have to hold it. You know, you're aiming. There is an auto aim assist in this game, which would also help the blind and low vision users. And you can turn the strength of that on. How much you want that friction or that magnetism of that aim assist to be turned on. Of course, I turned it to 100%. So, From the deaf and hard of hearing, I give it an A, and from the motor disabled, it would also have to get an A, as there's every option that you could possibly want in the game to help you through uh, getting through the game. Unfortunately, like I said, if you're blind and low vision, there's not as much. You don't have that narration, especially in game. Not only out game to read the menus, but in game to read you the tips, the things it tells you on the screen that you're supposed to do at a certain time to use a certain ability or a skill. Unless you can read those, you are not going to know what you're supposed to do or where you're supposed to go. So if somebody's completely blind, I would say this game is not playable unless you have some sighted assistance. And if you're low vision, it depends on the severity, but there are some things to help you, like the large menus here and that high contrast mode. And hopefully, as you see them here and as I play them in the gameplay and practice, you'll be able to know whether that's something you'll be able to do or not. So overall, I give low vision blind accessibility a C, and I give both the motor and deaf and hard of hearing accessibility an A. All right, guys, so what about the moral or the Christian accessibility? How accessible is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for a Christian to play? Well, it's, again, kind of a mixed bag. In this game, it is rated T for teen, as the ESRB rating gave it a T for teen, for blood and gore, mild language, and violence. And it lives up to that. The blood and gore is what you expect. You know, you're fighting guys, you're shooting guys, but it's not. We're not talking Mortal Kombat levels of blood or anything like that. If you have trouble with bugs or snakes or things like that attacking people, it's that kind of thing. It doesn't exceed its teen rating, in my opinion, and as long as you're okay with a little bit of that kind of violence in your game as you're fighting through things, it is. I wouldn't recommend it for the kids, but it is there. For the language-wise, it says mild language, which is true. There's mostly D's and H words throughout this. It doesn't get much more than that. No F-bombs or anything like that I caught. However, what the ESRB rating does not tell you is this game does take the Lord's name in vain, unfortunately. And you have to get a good ways into the game, about the halfway point or so. I don't want to put too many spoilers on this, but there is a section of the game, a rather large section, where you play at the Vatican. And there's a lot of religious things there, a lot of religious references. Thankfully, most of them were tastefully done, as that's something I did worry about when I hit that section. Because, Indy's more of a man of science than he is a man of belief. But thankfully, they were very tasteful with that aspect, and they didn't mock God, they didn't mock Christ, or anything like that. So I was thankful for that. However, in a scene of, I don't want to say outrage or whatever, when Indy is in that section, you're going to hear him rather vehemently use the name of Jesus Christ in vain. And so if that's a problem or a deal breaker for you, as it is typically for me, that was a done deal for me. But it is in the game, and I want you to know, as that sometimes can be a surprise. And it's something I always want to know going into movies or games. Is that in there? Because I don't want to support that. And to me, that's the greatest blasphemy and taking the Lord's name in vain that there is, when you can in anger use their name in vain. So that is in there. And as far as the violence, it's your typical Indiana Jones, what you expect. You're whipping, you're using the gun a little bit, you're punching guys, you're, like I said, the snakes, the bugs, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of violence that is in there. Sexual content, there's not much to speak of. It's a period piece from 1937, so the ladies are dressed, pretty modestly. That's not a concern. Things like that. So, yeah, overall, I would have to give the game for, Christian accessibility. Unfortunately, because of that taking the Lord's name in vain, it gets a D from me, guys. Unfortunately, you know, the violence is controlled, the language is mostly controlled. It's just that scene of taking the Lord's name in vain that really drags the game's rating down for me from a moral Christian standpoint. And it's a shame because the sexual content's none to speak of, and all the other things are controlled. So, all right. So, what's the game look like in practice for uh, the physical disabled? Let's see what the game looks like.
We are walking the path of death. What of the curse? Superstitions.
All right, here we go, guys. As you see, the outlines leave the game looking like its normal state, but they've got like this little bit of a hue on them, a little bit of a outline on things to let you know where to go and who to follow and things like that. You could talk to these guys, and so it's pretty cool. Now, I want to show you guys the tint. That's the outlines. Now, the tint ability is one where you're going to have, like I call it the predator mode, where you're going to have everything kind of outlined with this yellowish hue, because that's the way the predator's vision, kind of looked and stuff. All right, let's turn this over to tint. All right, now show you guys the difference. Now you see the outline of even the objects over here. We have our outline, we have our person who's still going. Cool thing about these guys in this early part, if you go off path or lose your way, these guys will turn around, come back to you, and then start walking back to the objective. Thought that was kind of cool.
No sense in wasting daylight. Let's go.
There's sense in wasting daylight, guys. Don't let the grass grow under your feet. And even though the game looks like this when you go to the cutscenes, if you're worried about that, it will not stay looking like this. You'll get to see what the game looks like in a normal tone and things during the cutscenes. It reverts back. See how nice and easy that is to see and to follow. Like I said, not only is it for your... Oh, they're getting spooked, guys.
This is Jovito territory. Any eyes and ears in this jungle?
The eyes and ears in this jungle, okay. And see, now even your things you interact with, see how it has that nice outline? You can even see... And you have to hold your X. I have it to set to hold. You can toggle these. You would hold your X button on your Xbox controller, and then you have to use your left joystick to interact with these things. So it's wanting you to kind of go around these things. You have to move it back and go through. And there we go, guys. As you see, the subtitles are nice and big.
Senor, the Jovitos could be watching us. Jovitos don't like intruders.
They don't like intruders. Wow, does that guy not sound like Harrison Ford, guys? It's uncanny. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. You can kind of
What now?
do your thing. It's got a little bit of a free roam element to it, but mostly it's a linear game. Linear path, linear things. Later in the game, however, there's some parts that are confusing where you don't really know where to go, or what to do, especially when you get into the college sections.
What now?
You have to kind of telling us to shh. They're spook guys. Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go.
It would be crazy to make a fire on Jovito land.
Crazy to make a fire here, guys. We didn't start the fire. Stop telling me to shh. Yeah, and for the control wise, you know, you could simplify this, but by default, you kind of got your. Let's show you the whip, guys. It wouldn't be Indiana Jones without the whip. There we go. Well, that woke that guy up. And then you got your, that's your right bumper. Your right trigger does your attacks. As we're in first person, you know, it's always in first person mode here. Your left bumper also does attacks. You can pull up your information, your map, and different things with your select button or your menu button. Yeah. Got your jump. Yeah. It's pretty cool. So overall, guys, I hope that gives you kind of an indication of what you're supposed to do, what the game looks like. Like I said, the game is pretty cool. It does have some moments where it's hard to know where to go, what to do. See how like these guys? They walk back to you. And then they walk back, guys. And that's pretty cool. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys what the game looked like and how it works. So that way, you know, is this something that you would want to play or can play or things like that. So overall, I give the game for moral Christian accessibility a D. And for the physical accessibility, guys, the game gets a C for the low vision and blindness. There's a lot more that could be there. No menu narration. You do have this high contrast mode and large text, but there could be more. And then from the deaf and hard of hearing and the motor disabled, it gets an A, as there's everything here that you would need to play the game and not miss anything, which is what we all want, full accessibility. And like I said, that moral accessibility gets a D, as there's that blasphemy and taking the Lord's name in vain in the game. Unfortunately, the violence is controlled, the sexual content is controlled. So, as always, guys, use your knowledge of God's Word, the feelings that you have in your own heart, to be your own discernment and judge on whether you play these games or not. I just like to give you a little overview of what's in the game and let you know what my personal feelings are on the game. And when it comes to should Christians play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, unfortunately, I would have to say no from me. This has been another edition of Should Christian Play, guys. If it's helped you, let me know by giving me a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. You won't miss any of our future videos. If you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified. And, of course, liking and sharing, guys, helps us to further the kingdom and get godly content out into this world. And if you're watching over on Twitch on Poetically Christian Gamer, you can hit that follow button and join me when I do my live streams. I love you guys. God loves you. This has been another edition of Should Christians Play, the series where we go between the ratings of the ESRB to answer the questions, should a Christian play, and is this game physically accessible for me? Till the next one, bless wishes, guys.